Excellent. So, in other news, obviously we had the Champions League last night, and PSG once again done a. I don't know whether to say done a Spurs or they just done a PSG. Obviously, they threw a 2-goal lead. Obviously, Kylian Mbappe put them in the lead on the second leg. Did that take them to 3-1? Was it? Was it 3-1 at the time?
No, it was 1-0.
Yeah, would have took it to 2-0. Yeah, essentially, it took it to 2-0, and then So and then obviously Karim Benzema comes up with a hat-trick just to basically took him out. But I was watching that game, and they looked in so much control. There was a period where Real Madrid just could not get the ball off them just before Real Madrid actually scored. Could not get the ball out of them, and they got a corner. And I remember they took it short, and then they kept the ball again. And then Glenn Hoddle mentioned in the commentary, normally you would say, what are they doing? They've wasted a corner there, but this is brilliant what they're doing. They're just passing it between them. And then all of a sudden, Karim Benzema started pressing. He started pressing by himself. I remember him pressing. And then eventually other players started joining in. And then all of a sudden they would just swamp them. And then they scored from that moment on, which I found was ridiculous. And then obviously they capitulated. Now, we've been over this. I think we might have discussed this last year. I know we will have discussed it, in person before this podcast ever existed. But what is it with PSG and capitulation?
I think when it's a one-off and it's the first time it's happened, you can just put it down to the old cliche, that's football. When it happens again, there's something wrong, especially when it comes to knockout stage Champions League football, when it's the best of the best. And then this time for it to happen, I think players, when it went to 1-1, you felt, 1-1 in the game, but Bernabeu shut down. You just felt the game had shifted and changed because PSG realised they weren't, unbeatable. They could be, this tie could be overturned. And I just thought watching it, and the Donnarumma mistake is just taking a touch. I actually think it's a foul. Donnarumma,
I thought it was a foul. Yeah.
It's a foul. That's a foul. I don't care what you say about pressing and keeper taking too long. It's a foul. So he's not giving a free kick there. They've scored, which is obviously a huge goal. Now, there's a thing in sport and football called, for our viewers, and I'm sure the older ones would know so much. I'll have so much experience of it. The younger ones, you will as you grow up, and it's called momentum. Okay, there's a thing in football and sport in momentum, and I've not seen a team, I've not seen a club, I've not seen a person or a coach work out how to stop momentum when it's on one side against the other. It is the hardest thing to do because what happens when the other team, the 2-0 scoreline is the worst scoreline in football. You get that 2-1 goal, your tails it up, especially when you're at home as well, which Real Madrid were. Now the whole game shifts and changes. You're in control. Now your mentality goes, oops, if they get one more, it's extra time. You think, I don't want the ball. Some players start hiding as well. Other teams got half a yard extra in the press. They're pressing sharper, they're pressing together. You're talking about Benzema doing his own. All those little things, the passing is crisper. Those little moments, like the referee not giving a free kick, they start going your way. Those half chances become full chances for you. You know what I mean? Those, the other team, when they're going through on goal, little offside decisions, everything changes. And I don't know what it is. It's not just football. It's just it's what makes sport and football so brilliant. And that game, when I was watching it, I was going to tweet. I was like, "There's a thing called momentum, and no one's beating it yet." And I dealt with PSG again as well. And then when it went to 2-1, the fact they've gone 2-1, and then the third goal for me is the worst one out of a lot of them. The fact they've lost it from their own set, they've stayed kick-off, and they've lost it there. They're playing it. Surely you just think 2-2. Let's just have 5 minutes of just keeping the ball in good areas. Not playing it in. I mean, it was just ridiculously stupid. But the other thing that I thought it really showed was that Pochettino, Tuchel, Unai Emery, these are some of the best managers in the world. All of them have tried to get that front three. Even before that front three was it Cavani or Icardi or Di Maria, whatever it was. That front three, the world and the game is moving on so much. You cannot defend with 8 players. Not having it at all. The best two teams in the world are Man City and Liverpool. You can throw Bayern probably the third. I mean, we'll see with it. That's the Champions League betting shows that as well. None of those teams have any passengers whatsoever. You watch Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, I'm like, the momentum's completely shifted. You do not want them three in your team when that momentum's shifted, because you're literally defending with 8 men then. And they were just picking them off and popping them off. I mean, the fullbacks are going to go. Carvajal, I mean, they bought Vasquez on for Carvajal. He's just gone. He knows full well Mbappe ain't going to track him down. There's an overload for your fullbacks every time. I just think it's just mental. And I think at some point, we talk about PSG's culture. They're going to have to bite the bullet and say, right, Mbappe looks like he's going to go. I think if they can get rid of Neymar as well, I think that would work as well. Because I watched Neymar yesterday. He seems to have lost that magic spark 1v1. He's just become a bit of a... There's these Brazilian wingers that seem to be brilliant through the 20s. Now, as soon as they hit late 20s or early 30s, they seem to drop down. It's just like do a little step over and pass it. Do a little step over and pass it. I don't see him enough now facing his full back up and taking him on and doing it. You got a lot more when he's a lot more dynamic. Now he's just a bit more of a luxury player. I mean, he's always been a luxury player, but he used to give you a bit more thrust and penetration, which I don't think he's giving you at the moment. So for me, it's the front three, which, I think I've got a huge amount to answer to that, especially when the going gets tough and when you're out of possession.
Yeah. I associate a PSG as like a fair weather team. Like when things are going good, they look so good. Like I said to you, midway, it was, I don't know whether it was midway through the second half. It was around about the 50, 60 minute before they'd conceded. They just looked so good on the ball, Verratti, and you're playing up against Real Madrid in their own backyard, and you're just popping it around like Man City do, and you just couldn't see any other outcome. And they are fair weather, and it's exactly right what you say. I've been in many teams. I'm sure you've been in many teams. Anyone who's watching this has played football. As soon as something goes against you, as soon as the other team has momentum, players start hiding. Like players, you'll immediately see players that normally want the ball when you're winning. They go into their shell, and all of a sudden, the angles are not there anymore. They're hiding behind players. And, I'm not accusing Messi, Neymar, or Mbappe of that, because, these are the type of players that will take the ball at any point. And, there are a lot of players, there are other players on that team, like Verratti, that'll take it in uncomfortable positions. But, I think of the likes of, Roy Keane back in the day, like when you think of that I think it was Juventus, was it? When things are going tough, you just need someone in there that's going to get hold of everybody and start demanding and being like, right, I want the ball. I want to try and stem the flow. But going back to your point on Pochettino, I kind of feel sorry for him in a way, because like you say, the managers before him have actually failed with this set of players. And you just wonder, can anyone manage a front three like this? Is there anything in their contract which says they have to be playing, when available? I can't imagine that's the case, but, they can cause as much of a stink up in the background, in the dressing room, that'll kind of almost make your job impossible, especially amongst their cliques. Why aren't you playing Messi or anything like that? But the perfect example is, I'm not Gini Wijnaldum's biggest fan. However, I am a fan of specifically, like with Liverpool, the problem that I always found with Gini Wijnaldum is that, I don't feel like he offered enough in an attacking sense. Everything else, he was brilliant. But I always felt like we had Jordan Henderson, we had Fabinho and those guys to cover that. And he fit in well, but he just didn't have that extra thing that I think maybe Thiago does add to the other two. Yeah. Now, with PSG, he is exactly what they needed. Someone that won't shy away from the ball, that can get physical, that can hold a man off, that can travel with the ball, that is a calming influence. And he's just going to work for you. Like, you've got to take one of them three off. And I fully believe second half, or even if you'd have started with Gini Wijnaldum over, let's say, one of Neymar or Messi, they would have went through yesterday. I fully believe that. Yeah. So, you're right. The mentality's got to change. Just your thoughts on Gini Wijnaldum, because I know that you're a big fan of his.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just to let our viewers know, Chris's camera can play a bit up, so it's not his all set up. It's his wife's. So she's fiance. She does it for a living, and Chris just comes up, doesn't know the settings. So there we go. We'll be bringing him back on. There you go. It's perfect. So yeah, just know I tweeted about it yesterday. I thought the only midfielder in there was better than Wijnaldum is Verratti. That is it. Wijnaldum brings so much more to that team. I mean, I don't know about starting with Wijnaldum when it was 1-0, but as soon as it goes 2-0, I'm thinking, get Neymar off. I'm surprised even Di Maria. Get Di Maria on, do you know what I mean? Or at least even if he plays in the front three, even Di Maria and Neymar, at least he knows he'll work back. You know what I mean? So I just think there seems to be this arrogance, but it's beyond arrogance as well. It's just happened so many times. But I think as much as it's a capitulation, I think we've got to go back to that first goal. It's a foul. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't understand that. Like, nothing happens if that foul doesn't. I mean, it's great pressing and everything, and it's a foul. So VAR should be going back and saying that's foul. I just feel that game and the Liverpool game before, I watched them both. The referees are letting so much go, which is great, but you've still got to pull up for fouls. It's a foul now. It was a foul 10 years ago. It'll be a foul 30. Do you know what I mean? It was a foul. And
yeah, a lot of the times
if you go back to that point, I just think, obviously, but you've still got to, I think this is an issue around PSG and how they play with the front three that they've had. And it's been the same conversation before where they've capitulated and they've got, I mean, I'll give you an example. I think it was in the first half. It might have been 0-0 at the time. So Marquinhos is doing a back flick in the penalty box to, I think it was Hakimi, but it went short. And then, I think Alaba had a shot on his dive, did tackle, was gone wide. It's doing it's gone pass, and he's tried to back flick in. I'm like, do you know what I mean? It's just, come on, have a bit of a think. And there's arrogance and there's sensibleness as well, you know what I mean? And just being a bit more calmer and thinking about your situation and where you are and just managing the game a bit better. These are experiences and they don't need me to tell them. So just doing stuff like all it does, it gives other teams that encouragement. You don't need to give teams encouragement at that level. Do you know, it's, the higher up you go, the more elite you play at, it's those really fine margins that make the difference. So
it was the basics. Yeah, they were lacking in the basics. And what I found, especially when they went behind, was that they constantly dived in. Like, at any level you're taught, don't dive in. All right, if the first man dives in, you jockey. But it was constant dive in, and they were just eating up the time. And all of a sudden the ball became a hot potato, and I don't know what it is about PSG. They still had around about 15 minutes after Real scored potentially the winning goal, but it's that capitulation. It is that mentality. The only thing I was surprised about was that there wasn't a red card, because they were constantly giving away fouls. And normally what they like to do is they like to start fights and everything like that. Get on with the game and just take it to them. But obviously, like you said, Mbappe will likely be gone, which will be a master disastrous thing from them, especially using a player of his quality. But not only that, the money that would have allowed them to invest in. Obviously they brought in Sergio Ramos for this type of a game. I don't know whether he was injured or what, whether it was because it was against Real Madrid or what. So, and they essentially let go Thiago Silva, who was obviously doing amazing things at Chelsea. So do you think it's a club which is run, I want to say badly, for want of a better word?
Yeah. I think they have. I mean, they're a club. They are the Harlem Globetrotters, aren't they? They'll just buy players without any. We've mentioned it before. Like Man United, a prime example. Everton, don't just buy players for the sake of it without any sort of forward thinking. So everyone's gone. Oh, you've got a brilliant transfer. You bought Donnarumma, who's the best keeper in the world, in my opinion. But why have you got him? You've already got Keylor Navas, who's a top keeper. It's not a net. You don't need to get him. You're now playing them, rotating them. Why do that? You've then gone in and bought Sergio Ramos, who's is injury prone and he's to the back end of his career. You bring in Wijnaldum, and you've already got all the midfield. You've got no intention of playing him. Have you asked the managers if you're going to pick him? You bought Messi, absolutely brilliant, but he's coming to the end of his career. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how long? What's the future planning here? You've not tied Mbappe down to a long-term contract. You bought Hakimi, great. I just think the whole forwards thinking, structurally strategic thinking, horizon scanning for PSG is just not there. You've got some owners who are unbelievably rich and just want to buy some of the best players in the world, so they're cool, and you know what I mean. They can have that conversation with their mates over at Man City and saying, "Yeah, we're with the big boys," which they are. I mean, you don't need to be a top manager to get PSG to knockout stages of the Champions League and win the League One, Liga, because it's you know what I mean. It's quite easy. They've got top players. They'll get you to that point, but the balance in the team isn't right. As soon as they come up against a proper team, they'll crumble, and they'll continue to crumble as well, just because of the way they are and the way it's all set up. But just going back on one of your points as well about, I don't think you spoke about what would PSG change. So I think you talk about the managers as well. Now, Tuchel was there, and he goes to Chelsea and he wins the Champions League. So there's nothing on with the manager. Exactly the same as Pochettino. Now, I think there's a chance he'll probably get sacked as well or leave. I don't know. Or whether they, you know, I don't know. Now, if I was Man United, I'd be looking to get him in sharpish and quick. I think if you offered him a job in the Premier League now for a top 4 club, he would snap your hands off, because he's realised you've got those front three which you can't manage. He's doesn't know what to do. Mbappe is going. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, well, what are we going to do? So I'd be interested in your thoughts on the Pochettino, because we've not spoke about it, have we?
Yeah, there was talks of Pochettino recently going to Real Madrid. You know, it would have been interesting. Like, you know, I think it would have been more up in the air if he'd have actually put Madrid out. It'd be interesting to see what they're thinking of that now. But like you said, he probably should get snapped up by United as well. And I like you, I do think that he'll want to move back, especially with a club of United stature, where he has got a quality set of players, but not a team where he can kind of put his own stamp on it. And obviously, everyone at United, well, club-wise, are going to realise that this is going to be a project. It's not going to be a Real Madrid where, you know, you don't win anything in your first season or first 2 seasons or anything like that. You're out the door. You know, their clubs are effectively run by their presidents, whereas Glazers really couldn't get that. They just like, yeah, come in. As long as we're making a profit, as long as you get us in top 4, we're doing all right. So, I think I do like Pochettino. I really was impressed with what he'd done with Tottenham, but he was always up against it managing PSG. And I just think that's a poison chalice for any team, any manager that takes it over them. I would actually love to see a PSG all or nothing, you know, just to see inside the crazy stuff that goes on.
Mad, yeah. Just before we wrap it up, I've got a question for you, and I'm looking back. I'm surprised we haven't opened up with this on the PSG section of this podcast. Karim Benzema, the most underrated number 9 in the history of the game. Now, we were talking. I was listening. I think this week, Harry Kane being the best number 9 in the world. That's in the Premier League vision, and that's, you know, tunnel vision, as you know that. But Karim Benzema, we could probably have a podcast on its own, but I just want to hear you, because I don't think we've not had this conversation before about Karim Benzema now, because I think it's obviously been covered about, you know, he's always been second fiddle to Ronaldo when he was there, but even when he was there, he's played left, he's played down the middle. He's just, I'll hold back. I'll let you go first.
Sorry, what was the question?
Sorry, Karim Benzema. That was the question. The most underrated number 9 in the history of the game, and do you think? I mean, what does he? The question is, why doesn't he get the credit he deserves? I mean, that's probably the question. But I'm just thinking, like, he's just a phenomenal footballer. But I'll let you go, and I'll chip in.
Yeah, 1,000%. There's a couple of reasons why I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. Is first of all, he played second fiddle to Ronaldo for what you consider the prime years of his life, and secondly, because he wasn't at, you know, with France, again, during the prime years of his life. You know, you think of World Cups and Euros that have gone past, you know, where they've went late on, and when they've won it, essentially, you know, he probably hasn't got that credit, which has maybe prolonged how, like, you know, his career. What is he now, 36, 37, and he's still going. So, yeah, he must be, I think he may be among the top 5 scorers of Real Madrid's history. You know, Real Madrid, you know, the most prestigious club in world football. And for me, you're totally right. He is I'm trying to think of anyone who is more underrated. You know, Harry Kane, you could argue it's about where he is at the moment. You know, people think of him where he is world class. But yeah, he certainly is overrated. But like I said to you at the beginning of this, what most impressed me about him, it wasn't that he scored the hat-trick. Everybody thinks about the hat-trick, you know, his reactions on the final goal. But for me, he was the one that was leading the press. Like, you know, his team had practically given up at the point where I'm talking. PSG must have passed the ball maybe around about 40, 50 times without a Real Madrid player touching the ball. And there was just a clip of him far side of the pitch. He was just running after them. He was just doing doggies. He never got the ball. Never got the ball. But they made a mistake. They passed the ball into, I think it was Modric, and then Modric went on a ridiculous run. And then he put it, I think it was the lad on the wing. Vinicius went through, and then obviously the goal came from that. And that just goes to show the work rate that he's got at that level and the desire that he's got at that level. And he's not willing to let anybody displace him because, you know, Real Madrid, essentially they're going to take Mbappe into their team, and he's saying, right, not quite yet. I'm not ready quite yet to leave. So they're going to have to find a way to fit Mbappe and him in amongst it. After you give me your insight into Benzema, I would also, this is the centre midfielder in me, like you speak on Modric, because
the guy's I know. Yeah, but Benzema, I was watching that game and I just thought, why doesn't he get the credit he deserves? He's absolutely phenomenal. Like, and the longevity of it as well. He's been at the top of the game for so many years, and he's been brilliant. And one of the biggest things about Benzema as well is I have never ever heard him moan about being shifted positions, play left, play right, but he will play wherever he will for the team. You've never heard that. He doesn't have that ego. I'd imagine his own top players do. But what he has done for Real Madrid, and again, the stuff around France, I think France have missed out with him not, you know, I mean, obviously, I know in the recent years, there's not come on, but Karim Benzema for Real Madrid has been just brilliant. I think, and it was quite right. I mean, Mbappe is obviously going to be a future star. He's a star now. He's a star now. But Benzema, I just thought it was one of those. It's like, not quite yet, young buck. You will get there, but not quite yet. And I just thought, yeah, but I mean, there's parts of his games that you watch. I mean, his shooting is unbelievable. No back left. He's really good in the air. His passing is excellent, and his movement, which is really underrated. Rio Ferdinand in the studio actually said he's been one of the toughest nines he's ever played against. His movement was so sharp, and I think he even said he was the best number 9 he's been up against. So it's, you know, I mean, I think the players that have played against him will understand and appreciate how good he is. I just think the fans and the wider general public don't. I don't know. I'd be interested if we've got any French viewers. I doubt it, but you know, what is how he's received in France? Because
just jumping in there, how do you think he's going to fare next season? Do you think it's going to be a front three of Vinicius, him, and Mbappe, or do you think he's going to be more phased out?
No, I think it'll be that's exactly how I see it. I think Benzema down the middle with them two either side, and I think that's just the way it will be. I think as he gets older, I don't think he can play the wide areas. I mean, it'll be okay, but I think you're going to lose that thrust and quality and the penalty box finishing that you probably wouldn't get in wide areas as much because he can play more in the width of the penalty area, the goalposts, and just to be more threatening. And yeah, I think he's just suited to 9 now, especially now that he's getting older. And I mean, his performances show that's where he's. You know, it's not like he's not scoring goals. He's just brilliant. He's a threat. He's more than a threat. He's top notch, and he will go down in history as one of the best 9s. And if he doesn't, I think it's a huge. It's a disservice to him.
Lastly, you know, speaking of what I would say is an underrated player, like I say, Modric. For me, he did win Ballon d'Or. I'm pretty sure. He won Ballon d'Or, and you know, a lot of questions were raised about that at the time. You know, I don't know why, but because he is ridiculous. You know, Messi was still coming towards the end, but he was still about. But he is absolutely ridiculous, and some of the things that he was doing, particularly in the last half an hour. I say he wasn't really too much into the game the first 60 minutes, but like Benzema, he seems to be another player that just keeps on getting better and better, in particular, like, you know, his run for the goal and then to get on the end of it and then slip Benzema in for I think it was the equalising goal. He's just ridiculous. Any club would be lucky to have him.
Yeah, there's a second goal when he's ran about 30, 40 yards, and he's actually, when he's running with the ball, he's going away from players that are younger than him. He's gone, and it's later in the game. And it's an unbelievable pass. And there was another moment, and I'm sure this picture's taken. I'm not seeing it, but I'm surprised. I'll be shocked if there isn't. Messi's going down the right wing, and Modric is running it, and he's a crack. And I just thought, Messi's the greatest of all time. But you could say two legends of the game there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I just thought, absolutely brilliant. And I watched him, and the commentator mentioned he's 36, and I'm thinking, you're going to struggle here. But wow. Some of the stuff he did. I mean, there was a shot he had with his left foot, but he's got the ball, he's chopped inside, and he's going to go on, he's trying, and he's dragged it on his left foot. I'm like, what are you doing? You're not going to do anything there. And he's literally gone on the post by about that much. And I just thought, you're watching him, he's just an absolute maestro at work, you know. And again, he's one of those that you look back and you think, what a player. Do you know what I mean? We say we look back, we're looking at him now and he's still brilliant. I just love the fact that you've got sometimes, you know, you've got your younger sort of players, more like, you know, your Verratti and, you know, players as such. I thought Camavinga, when he came on, did well as well, but I just think Modric, you're looking at him, it's, like you, I just think, underrated. I don't think because he has had the Ballon d'Or, but I get where you're coming from. He seems to get overlooked whenever we're talking about the great midfielders of our generation. You know, your Xavis and Iniestas. Modric is never in the conversation, which I think is not fair.
Yeah.
He's earned that right to be in that conversation. So yes, I think, absolutely. I think he's another one that's underrated. Maybe it's a podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think that's everything covered, in particular between PSG and Real Madrid. Obviously, we had a section earlier on Roman Abramovich. Obviously, we'll put that in the link if we are separating these two videos. And as always, answer the question of the day, which was, do you think that Roman Abramovich was a good owner? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So it's been an eventful week. There could have been any number of subjects that we were going to cover. As mentioned, we are going to be doing, potentially we're going to be doing one live from Lanzarote.
That's confirmed. We just need to figure out logistics. We need to take a tablet, and quality might not be as good, but you'll get the gist of what we're trying to say.
Yeah, so that's going to be in a couple of weeks' time. So that should be interesting. God knows what we're going to do. Or maybe it's going to be about Chelsea and potentially a new owner. But then again, the way the season, it could be in any number of things. So before we go, is there anything that you want to say?
It's I mean, the Chelsea stuff is obviously a huge. I mean, I say it's a huge shock. It's what's happening is the shock, not the fact that it's been sanctioned. It's how it has a knock-on effect. Like stuff that we wouldn't think about, like fans not being able to buy a ticket, 3 saying they're going to remove this shirt sponsor, having to run down to Sports Direct to buy 20 blue shirts. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. It's just like what you're doing with dog and duck on a Sunday morning. You know what I mean? It's like it's happening at Chelsea. But I think it's been great. So great podcast, but obviously not so great for Chelsea.
Yeah, no worries. Well, we'll see you later, guys.
See you guys.